It's getting local audio.
It's what?
It's getting local audio.
What does that mean?
Audio recorded from right here.
Oh, okay.
It's a 360.
That's what I was thinking. I was.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah.
Well, we'll go ahead and call today's meeting to order. If able, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mayor Pape.
Here.
Councilmember Shavetta.
Here.
Councilmember Kosmeyer.
Here.
Councilmember Hands.
Here.
Councilmember Caldwell. Councilmember Leahy.
Here.
Councilmember Ryder.
Here.
Councilmember Silvers.
Here.
Councilmember Yodrich.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. Okay, next item up this evening is the what we call public items. And members of the public are encouraged to use this time to make comments that about matters that directly related to the city's programs and services. Comments related to a matter or topic on the council agenda that is the subject of a public hearing should be provided during the scheduled public hearing and not during the public comment period. Please note, individuals making public comment will be limited to 3 minutes. The city reserves the right to refuse public comments which are inconsistent within the parameters established with the governing body rules of procedures. Now, as a reminder, the public comment is 3 minutes for a total of all non-public hearing items. Tonight, we do have the public hearing on the agenda, and so members of the public that wish to provide comments on that topic will receive 3 minutes during the public hearing. I'd also like to point out that we will hold public comment for the sidewalk item during the item on the agenda. However, public comments for non-public item hearings are limited to 3 minutes total. Hopefully that made sense to everyone. All right, so I have a sign-up sheet here of public comments, and I have Al Osterhaus being the first one on this list. Al, would you like to come forward at this time?
Mayor, if we could, is this
My name is Al
sidewalk
Oster.
related?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, well, I should, yeah. I guess, are you speaking anything this evening besides the sidewalks or just on sidewalks?
I'm talking about the islands, particularly.
The islands, sidewalks and islands, so.
My
okay.
place.
We'll do that during the public comment, at a later time then, thank you. And the next one we have up is Jerry Becker. Jerry, do you have, is yours different?
But yeah,
Okay,
I'm not
gotcha.
talking about sidewalks.
Not talking about, yeah.
Or islands.
Okay, yeah, or islands, gotcha, okay, I assume that was true, okay.
Okay, well, thank you for letting me speak.
Yeah, yeah.
My name is Jerry Becker. I live at 5546 Goodman. I've lived there for 36 years this year, or no, 35, excuse me. And I'm here to talk about deer. I've sent you all an email a few weeks ago. Deer are a scourge in our yard. We have counted as many as 13, and that's the high number, but usually we can find almost every day 8 to 10 deer in our backyard. We have a very extensive garden. They are devastating our plants. And also, what I want to point out is that deer are carriers of diseases, specifically Lyme disease. The last couple of years, my wife and I have both gotten tick bites from working in our yard. And I don't think it's fair to have to be able to go out in my yard, my neighbors, and have the threat of getting a disease in the backyard. So I'll limit that to that. You all know how I feel. I think that coordinated with Overland Park, there needs to be something done to curb the deer population. They have no predators, and there are a lot of ways of controlling the population. So that's all I have to say. I would like to point out that friends of mine and acquaintances who aren't aware of the charms of Merriam, I always tell them it's a great place to live, and it's a well-run city and welcoming, and it has great public art. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Becker, okay. Those were the only two I had on that list. That doesn't preclude anyone else from coming up and speaking about any other items this evening. Come forward and give your name and address to the record, sir.
Billy Crone, 6633 Wedge Street. So one of the items on the agenda is the reappointment of Ryan Dank for another 2 years. And I have sat in this room for the last 11 or 12, but I've listened to the legal decisions of the city over the last 6 or 7 years, and a lot of them were real lemons. There was a lot of violations of the Constitution, disregard for the rights of citizens in the city, disregard for open government and transparency. And a lot of the time, his signature or rubber stamp is on those things. He's involved in those conversations. I've called you, Bob, before about one of them that he signed in Westwood. And I'm going to cite 4 examples that you can get online right now. If you Google Ryan Dank ACLU, you'll get these examples. I'll start in 2021, April 19th. Merriam did an anti-homeless ordinance. They called it an I guess asking for money, asking for help thing. The ACLU openly criticized that. Many of the city council, most of whom aren't looking right now while I'm speaking, were against it then. And they spoke out against that ordinance, but it ended up passing. And I believe Ryan drafted that. He was certainly in the room when that kind of discussion was happening. That happened right here in Merriam. In 2022, also the ACLU sent him a letter about Gardner, I believe, Gardner, Kansas, a 4-page letter from Kayla DeLoach at the ACLU, where he was, they pointed out violations of state and federal law, again regarding First Amendment stuff in the city of Gardner. 2023, this is the one that I told you about before, Bob, and you seem not to care. That was in Westwood, December, where he signed a letter in the name of that city of Westwood, telling a demonstrator or a protester, some sort of political activist, there was some issue going on in Westwood, and there was a group that was distributing flyers. They had a website or Facebook post, I don't know what, but the letter that Ryan signed for Westwood basically said, if you keep speaking against the city's objectives, we're going to sue you. You're going to face legal consequences, civil liability, something like that. And the government is not able to do that. Maybe that's why he's not here tonight, because he doesn't have the courage to stand up for himself on his actions in the past. The last one, 2025, November, just last year, I'm sure he was involved when the city of Merriam decided to lock down Facebook posts and prohibit political speech on the grounds of city municipally owned grounds. There were 2 council policies that got passed that evening right after the election, gutless. And we've had some poor legal decisions from this city, many of which have gotten national critique. and I think we can do better. So do not renew that contract. Thank you.
Okay. Oh, excuse me. Is there anyone else that would like to come forward at this time? Okay. No one else? Then I will close out the public items. Next item up is consent agenda. All items listed under this heading are considered to be routine by the city council and may be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member so requests, in which case that item be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. And we do have numerous items up this evening on the consent. Does anyone wish to have any of those items removed from the consent? See nothing that way? I see nothing that way. Well, if there is no removals, I would entertain a motion. Okay, Ms. Shveta.
Mr. Mayor, I move that the council approve consent agenda items 1 through 6.
We have a motion. We have a second. Ms. Oh, this way. Go, Ms. Ryder.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to second.
Okay, Madam Clerk, we have a motion and a second.
Councilmember Shavetta.
Aye.
Councilmember Kozmeyer.
Aye.
Councilmember Hands.
Aye.
Councilmember Caldwell.
Aye.
Councilmember Leahy.
Aye.
Councilmember Ryder.
Aye.
Councilmember Silvers.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Okay, next item up this evening is the mayor's report. And the first item up is Commissioner Becky Fast. Is Commissioner Fast out there? I'm not seeing her this evening. She's not moving forward. I assume do we have anything from Commissioner Fast earlier? Okay, well, let's move that to a different meeting, Mr. Engel, if we could, please. Or unless she shows up in a little while and maybe she's just running late, and then we'll see at that time.
I think she's coming in the door right now.
Oh, we think so?
I think so.
Okay. Well, let's hold up just a second then.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, Commissioner Fast has made her appearance. If you could come to the podium, Commissioner Fast, we had already gotten up to you, and
I have an excuse, I was at the City of Fairway, so
oh, okay, no problem.
everybody has their meetings on Monday nights.
We appreciate you taking time to be here this evening.
So how do I, okay. Well, thank you for having me. I always appreciate this time. I know you have many business items on your agenda, so I appreciate to have this dialogue and to give you an update with what's happening at Johnson County. So City of Merriam is in District 1, and I represent 11 cities. Johnson County is one of the largest counties in the nation. Only 100 counties nationwide are our size or larger. And what is interesting, the majority of counties in Kansas are smaller than the city of Merriam. So you're larger than most counties in the state of Kansas. So the role of a county is much different than the role that you have as city councilors. We are the state administrative entity for the state of Kansas. And what often is difficult for Johnson County is they mandate like 18 services that we need to provide, but they don't fully fund these services. So they mandate them, but yet then we don't get the funding. And with us being a rapidly growing county, it's even more difficult for us to provide these services. For example, in our DMV office right now, when you go get your license tag, that is a state services that the county administers. Well, now there's long wait lines. Sedgwick County's dealing with the same. I encourage you to tell your constituents to get online so they don't have to wait when they're there. It's best to log in and get in line. But so we put in $2.4 million, and there's fees on that, but the state takes the majority of those fees. And so that burden is passed on to county property tax payers. So we have been working with the legislature this year. We're hoping that bill advances, that we get to keep more of the revenue, and so we can shorten those wait times. So one of the things that the county and cities have struggled with for years is that back in the day, there was this city-county revenue sharing, and maybe Councilor Hands remembers it when you started. And so this was a vehicle to keep property taxes low. So the state took those county revenue sharing programs away. They also there was a mortgage registration fees for first time or when you bought your home. It was a small fee, which was used for all our historical programs in this county. Now Shawnee Indian Mission has to have tree sales because there's no funding to help the state historical gem. There's some state funding, but not like it used to be. And then machinery and equipment exemption happened. So like warehouses like Amazon used to pay personal property taxes on the equipment. They no longer have to pay. And so you can see the burden has been shuffled through the years to homeowners. Personal property taxes has gotten less and less. They exempted boats. Last year they talked about airplanes, all the equipment, and large warehouses. So as the exemptions decrease, the balloon squeezes and the burden gets moved to residential property tax owners. Johnson County has a property tax relief program just like the city of Merriam. I'm hoping our staff is going to be working with you to have like a portal so somebody can go online if you're interested. So they could go online, apply for our county rebate program, they could apply for the city of Merriam, and then they could learn about the state of Kansas has 3 programs. The state of Kansas programs just go up to $350,000 appraised value, which in Northeast there's less and less homes that meet that criteria. Senator Corson had a bill to raise that to $500,000, and it got a lot of traction. So I'm hoping, and they've been talking about consolidating those 3 programs because it's difficult to know which one you qualify for. So I know the city of Merriam benefits greatly from our stormwater program. I'm excited, that Turkey Creek is really moving forward. And our SMAC program, that sales tax, has really had a huge impact on the cities. Johnson County is one of the only counties with that program in the state of Kansas. We're the only program that does the CARS program. And that was my predecessors 20 years ago who believed that if if Merriam didn't maintain their roads and Mission did, it really impacted the economics of this county. Or if one area of the city had constant flooding, but another area didn't, and to equalize so that you can move from one city to the next with having our main arterial roads taken care of. And as you know, this program is not enough to fund all the needs with our more flooding and events. So that is something I think we all need to come together on and look at in the future. So this year, I organized the first inaugural water summit. Councilor Hands came, thank you, to represent you all. Water, I see, as the #1 environmental crisis in our state and in our country in the next years. I have many relatives in rural Kansas. That's all they talk about. They're having to drill deeper to access water, the drought, the lack of water. We are lucky we can access water from the Kansas River and the Missouri River, but with all the development in this metro area, that means more water drawn for data centers, homeowners. And so, that's where Contain the Rain. We thank you for participating in that. What can we each as a city do? I'm hoping that we have maybe more in-depth conversations about water preservation programs, and the stormwater is a huge water preservation program. Our Johnson County Wastewater Department has this program. It's called Johnson County Inflow. Many of the homes in Northeast, your sewer and your stormwater pipes are together. So when the stormwater flows in and goes into that sewer pipe, it overflows the sewer pipe, and then you have backups. So please, if you hear from a homeowner that has sewer backups, I bet their pipes could be connected. The county will come and assess how can they help them. They will, take those pipes apart. They might even help them get a sump pump, because it's cheaper for the county not to have to treat all that stormwater that goes into our sewer. It's cheaper for them to help that homeowner get some new pipes that are not connected to the sewer system. So I know you're very excited about your Merriam Plaza Library. I love hearing the stories of Merriam residents and Mission. It's just not Merriam that uses it. They go to the library, they go to your community center. I think that's just such a great collaboration. Prairie Village tried to model after Merriam, but it didn't work out. But we are continuing to work on a new Corinth library design. It'll probably be where it's at. The library will face north instead of east so that you can drive around it and drop off. And so they're beginning that design this year. Housing has been a huge priority of the county. As you know, our housing supply is so limited in this county, which increases our appraised values. Our rental housing is very limited, and I know you've been working on that, and you've added more rental housing to the supply, and you've seen in your own city how it just fills up. The vacancy rate is very low across the county. So we have, worked on the continuum of housing. I have a brother with Down syndrome. There's very limited housing for families who have a family member or an individual with intellectual disabilities, and this is a multifamily unit close to downtown Overland Park, so it's walkable. I'm very excited about this. I worked on a new home preservation program. So our current program that we've worked with you for years, minor and major home repair through HUD, the appraised value is like under $320,000. So increasingly, very few homes can access this program, and this is above that $320,000. So if you have an older homeowner that needs some support, please direct them to this program, and we're hoping it's COVID funds that we can use for another year or two, and HUD funds. So homelessness is an ongoing concern in our county. I worked, how can we prevent a family from becoming homeless? And so I worked with our judge, and after hearing stories from our sheriff, just excruciating stories from our sheriff, they go to someone's home with a warrant, they have a whole family, animals, and there's nowhere to go with that family who's been evicted. What we've seen in this program is that a large majority of these individuals who are in eviction are due to medical issues, hospital, are in the Medicaid expansion gap. And so 700 families have been prevented by homelessness. Kansas has one of the most strict eviction laws. If your rent is due on day 1, you can be evicted on day 3, or you'll receive your notice on day 3, and you will be evicted by the end of that month. So very difficult time frame for someone who's in the hospital, in hospice, to get the resources. And so we've seen by bringing together a number of people don't stay in the house, but it gives them time to find other housing. We have a new senior health insurance program. Please advertise it through your city channels. This is just a really great program. When you're about to be, for seniors, they often get inundated with for-profit people wanting to make money off of different Medicare options, and some of these individuals are very trustworthy, but others aren't. I know with my dad, it's like you would just get mountains of mail and calls. So this is a non-biased person that will sit down and help them look at their options. And we were able to get a state grant to do this. Mental health is a number one priority in Johnson County. We work with your chief of police, and thank you for supporting the mental health co-responder. I'm very proud that when you call 911, if you're having a mental health crisis, that we don't send out like we always used to, the fire, the ambulance, the police, that they get redirected to our mental health counselor and they assess, can they send out the police and the mental health co-responder? What do they need? And so we can support them through that. We also have this new youth crisis stabilization. For years, your police patrol officers would go out if a youth was in crisis, having a suicide, ideation, behavioral needs. They would take them to our intake center, but then they would bring them back home or they would languish with them in the ER for hours. So you would have local police sitting in Children's Mercy ER for hours and hours. And now we have this youth stabilization, give the family respite, and can support that youth and help them get back on their feet. So FIFA is I can't believe we're looking at June. We're almost here. And you probably heard England is going to be at Meadowbrook at the hotel there. And that was not something they knew, that we would get England to have a base camp in our area, for us to have Argentina. So we have been working hard. The county's role is on the transit and planning with the cities. So please tell people, have an airport, it's a drop and ride, not a drop and park to KCI. We're hoping that residents use this and that perhaps maybe we can get additional funding to keep this going after August. There's also Mission. You can go to the Mission Transit Center if you want to go to FanFest. And then from FanFest, you can go to Arrowhead if you're one of the lucky people to have one of those low-cost $1,000 tickets. So that we unveiled working with the cities. And City of Merriam, yeah, you're on this map. I was looking for it. And so thank you for your partnership. This would not have happened if all the cities hadn't participated in the funding. And so as you can see, there's 3 routes and 50 passenger vans. I'm hoping not only tourists use this, but residents use it, that residents see Johnson County. If you're Merriam residents, go to Lenexa or Leawood and they ride it all. These routes will also intersect with our fixed routes so that there's more confidence in our public transit system. And so this will be exciting to see if people use it. People will access it through an app. And so you know where to go in Merriam to get on it and what time it comes. And the FIFA will have an app too with it. So we're unveiling this and crossing our fingers that it works. So we're very proud of our county parks. Antioch's 3rd most used park in the county, go Merriam. Meadowbrook has over 900,000, 2nd most used, and Shawnee Mission Park. But encourage you to try Kill Creek if you've never been out there. Some of our other parks, it's easy when we're in the Northeast not to venture out past 435. I rarely venture out, way out either, but try to when the weather warms up. So that is my presentation and hope to hear your thoughts and questions.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you, Commissioner Fast, for your presentation this evening and for bringing us up to speed as to what's going on in the county level. Does anyone have any questions for Commissioner Fast? Okay. Well, yeah, we do. Ms. Haynes?
Just a real quick one.
Okay.
So Commissioner Fast came to our church yesterday and did some presentation with our group, so that was lovely. So what was the question that those residents asked you? Well, maybe just one of them.
One of them, which I often hear, is about these corporate mutual funds buying out houses and what can the county do or what can you do in terms of zoning. So people often they're very concerned about seeing neighborhood homes be bought up by, and who can pay cash. So we have a very competitive housing market, and they're coming to the table, these financial groups with cash. And so that is, an issue. And I've had our county appraiser's office assess it, but it's very hard because If you look at our appraisal records, these are often they're in trusts. You can see some are under hold by banks, but it's really hard to know, and how much that problem's really happening.
Thank you.
Any other questions, Commissioner Fast?
So I just wanted to highlight, one thing I didn't highlight is the public safety tax. I think you're aware that we went, KOBOC filed, an opinion saying that the county's portion, in that public safety tax is the city's portion, which you have all flexibility. The county doesn't have flexibility in our part. And we were going to include our ambulance are in dire need of more staffing because of our population growth, older population, so more needs for our ambulance and 911. So we had included that as public safety, which is nationwide defined as public safety, ambulance, 911, mental health. But our Attorney General said that wasn't public safety. And so then we went to court and the judge agreed with Attorney General KOBOC. So right now we're looking at having, the statute isn't real clear, it's kind of vague. And so to get that at some point clarified, that language, and so that we have more clarity. You as a city have very much flexibility, but we as a county don't.
Okay. Thanks for the update on that. Okay. All right. Well, thank you for coming this evening, and
Yep.
We'll look forward to hearing from you again next year.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's see what we have next item up. Okay, well, that's for me, I'm next. We have a proclamation is my next item up in the mayor's report, and it's in reference to our Black History Month. And I'm going to read this proclamation, and then I'm going to ask Katrina Robertson to come up, who's the president of the Johnson County NAACP, to present that to her, and see if she has a few words that she would like to say as well. But let me start with reading the proclamation. Whereas, during Black History Month, we celebrate many achievements and contributions made by African Americans and recognize their central role in U.S. history, and whereas Black History Month evolved out of Carter G. Woodson's idea for Negro History Week, which started in 1926 to promote African American history, culture, and achievements, and whereas the observance of Black History Month calls our attention to the continued need to battle racism and build a society that upholds its democratic ideals, and whereas the 2026 national theme for the observance is A Century of Black History Commemorations, marking the 100th anniversary of the celebration and focuses on the evolution of Black history studies, its impact on American culture, and the ongoing fight against efforts to erase it. And whereas the city of Merriam will join the nation in honoring African Americans and highlighting their contributions to our city, and whereas the city of Merriam is proud of its Black history, which includes a school desegregation lawsuit, a precursor to Brown versus Board of Education of Topeka. Now therefore I, Bob Pape, by the virtue of the authority vested in me as the mayor of Merriam, Kansas, do hereby proclaim February 2026 as Black History Month, proclaimed on this 9th day of February 2026. Bob Pape, Mayor. And I would invite Katrina to come forward to the podium. Now, do you want your visitor to come with you or not? Or it's up to you. Okay. But
If they want.
okay. I'll tell you what, before I come down and present this, would you like to say a few words before I
Sure.
come down? Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor, and good evening to all of the council members. As the mayor has indicated, my name is Katrina Robertson, and I'm the president of Johnson County NAACP. I'm also a Merriam resident. And we appreciate the proclamation. We also appreciate the flags that are flying. So we've gotten really good positive feedback from the members on their Facebook page, so we appreciate the acknowledgement. Real quickly, our office is actually in the city of Overland Park. We have over 100 members, and we have members on both sides of the state line, so in Missouri and Kansas. And I wanted to let all of the guests know that we're here for the residents of Merriam, as well as the other 19 cities. So that basically includes every city in Johnson County except for Olathe. And then more specifically for Black History Month, if I can just quickly let you know about our program. We meet at the Shawnee Church of the Nazarene in Shawnee, and we meet there every first Saturday. But we will have a Black History program the third Saturday of this month, and that's February the 21st. And we are encouraging, it's free. We want anyone that would like to attend. We are having the speaker, she is a survivor of Jonestown. And so many of us remember that massacre. She was a 13-year-old child when she was brought in to People's Temple. And so she's written a book. She's a survivor. And she'll be here in our city talking about her story, talking about her faith, and everything that she experienced and how she's recovered from that. So again, it's at the Shawnee Church of the Nazarene. She'll be there. She'll have books if you are interested, and I've started reading it. It's a phenomenal, it's a good read. And she'll be there to sign the books.
Sure.
All right. Thank you. So the program will begin at 11, and we expect it to be just about an hour, at the most hour and a half. We're going to give people opportunities to ask her questions about her experience.
On another note, just for those that may not know, is Julius McFarland was the first African-American council member in Johnson County and was here in Merriam and served for, I think, 29 years or almost 30 years. And then Carl Wilkes was our first black mayor as well, which also occurred right here in Merriam. So anyway, Ms. Robertson, I'd like to come down and present this to you. Maybe we can get a picture together.
Thank you. Johnson County NAACP members.
Please all come forward. Let's all get a picture together. Well, we kind of spread out on both sides if we could. Okay, and I'll let you hold on to this.
All right, thanks.
Oh, get off. Okay, all right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, and I appreciate it. A lot of history here in Merriam. Okay, I'll make this quick because I know we have a lot of other things to do this evening. But I always like to report a little bit about what I and other council members have done in the last 2 weeks. I and several council members attended the legislative forum that was hosted at the Merriam Plaza Library. We got the opportunity to ask our local state legislators questions. And Ward 4 council members went out to West Vernon subdivision, knocked on doors. City had sent out postcards inquiring about with the residents whether they wanted sidewalks or not and whether they wanted street islands. Although we had a substantial return of responses, we attempted to find out the wishes of those that had not responded. I want to express my thanks to Ms. Vetta and Mr. Kozmeyer for braving the cold that day to seek out that information. Though we still didn't get everyone, I feel more comfortable in saying that we now know of what the majority of those residents want or what their wishes are. We had a couple council members that met to narrow down the selection of the downtown RFQ respondents. They will be sending those recommendations forward to the council. I and several council members and staff met with the state legislators and presented them with our priorities for our current year. I and a couple council members met with Mr. Ingalls, set tonight's agenda. I and several council members and staff attended the Overland Park Fire Department Awards Banquet, a great event that was also a paid tribute to the City of Merriam's 75th anniversary and the long-term contract that we have enjoyed with them providing our fire and EMS protection. Special thanks goes out to Chief Long and all your staff for not only recognizing us during our 75th anniversary, but for all the awards that were presented and just doing what you guys do to protect our residents. So, and that's all I had. Is there anything else I missed from the other council members? Okay. All right. Well, that will conclude the mayor's report. Looks like the next item up will be our public hearing. And I will call the public hearing to order. No, don't have to call it. No, we're not quite, excuse me.
Quite yet.
Not call it yet, no. Not the public hearing. We're going to have staff come forward before
Yep.
the public hearing.
Yeah,
Then we're
so-
going to call it to order.
Yeah, real quick, staff's gonna do a presentation, and then answer any questions the council may have. Also have a short presentation from our financial advisor on the cost benefit analysis that's in your packet. Then you can open your public hearing, take comments from the public, then ask staff any remaining questions that you all may have, and then consider the resolution of intent for the IRBs for the residential portion of the Serrano apartment complex. And again, I'm going to be doing a presentation on both of those two items that are in your on your agenda. So also with us this evening is Jeff White with Columbia Capital. He is the city's financial advisor, as well as Jacob Lowry with QTech. He is our bond counsel. And Ralph Beller with Drake is Drake's counsel. So they're all here this evening. Obviously, we're all happy to answer any questions that you all may have. Again, this evening we have before you a resolution of intent to issue industrial revenue bonds for the residential portion of the 215-unit Serrano apartment building to be built at the corner of Shawnee Mission Parkway and IKEA Way. The IRBs, the purpose of these IRBs is for a 10-year property tax abatement, 10-year property tax abatement, as well as an exemption on sales tax for materials, construction materials related to the construction of the residential portion of the building. As you all recall, at your last meeting, you did a somewhat similar actions. You did consider a resolution of intent to issue industrial revenue bonds for the parking structure portion of the building. That IRB was only for a sales tax exemption on construction materials. And also that same evening, you also passed a resolution, an ordinance removing the residential portion of the building from your I-35 redevelopment district. Again, all these are items that are spelled out in the RDA, the redevelopment agreement, the agreement between the city as well as Drake in regards to the development of that area over there and what each entity is responsible for considering doing. So this evening's resolution of intent for IRBs is a little bit different than the resolution intent for the parking structure. This resolution is for the residential portion. It also includes, a sales tax exemption on construction materials. It also includes a 10-year property tax abatement on the residential portion of the building. Again, you're not issuing any industrial bonds this evening, as you all know. This is simply the resolution of intent. It sets the upper limit for that bond amount, which is $55.9 million. Once all the expenses have been accumulated and put together, be back for you once the project's close to being done for an ordinance to issue those bonds. It's important to note that per state statute, the city has no obligation to pay the principal and interest on these bonds, so the city does not pay on these bonds. And also, as I mentioned earlier, we have a redevelopment agreement. That redevelopment agreement spells out, the city council asked and required the developer to make a payment in lieu of taxes. So that is a payment that we made to the taxing entities, just a little bit under $50,000. That number is kind of the hold harmless number. That's the number that those properties currently generate in property tax. So that was the purpose of that payment in lieu of taxes. Again, this evening simply to consider a resolution of intent. And you also will be holding a public hearing. The reason for that public hearing is, again, per state statute, since this is a property tax abatement IRB, governmental entities are required to hold a public hearing prior to issuing those bonds. So with that, I will turn it over to Jeff White and let him give you a summary of the cost-benefit analysis.
Mr. White?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, Jeff White with Columbia Capital. Pleasure to be here tonight. As Brian mentioned, I'm here to chat about the cost-benefit analysis that's in your packet tonight. When a city wishes to grant a property tax abatement, Kansas law requires that a cost-benefit analysis be done on the city, any affected county, and any affected school district. We have one of each of those here. The statute also asks us to calculate the impact on state revenues as the result of the abatement in the project. When we prepare a cost-benefit analysis, we look at sort of first-order direct impacts only. We don't calculate induced benefits and cost, which is you have more employment in a city. Those people drive through McDonald's to get their Happy Meals, and if enough people drive through McDonald's to buy Happy Meals, then more people will work at McDonald's and those kinds of things. We're really looking at the impacts just from the folks that are directly employed by that business and their impact on the community. One of the things that we struggle with is in calculating costs. So the revenues are a little bit easier. We can look at what we expect that property to generate in property taxes, to generate in sales taxes, those kinds of things. But costs are challenging, as you might imagine. And in a perfect world, we would calculate the marginal cost of that particular project rather than using an average cost. So an average cost would be take your city budget, divide it by the number of people in the city, and then you can say the average citizen in Merriam costs the city X amount of dollars every year to provide city services. A marginal cost is different. Marginal cost says that we keep adding new businesses and people, and at some point we have to add a new snowplow. And when we add a new snowplow, and you all bid those relatively recently, I think I was at a meeting, they cost a fortune these days, and then you got to put staff in there, you got to put salt in it, and you have to fuel it, the whole thing. So in a perfect world, we would be keeping track of when the next time you had to add a new police officer, or when you had to increase your contract with OP for fire services, or when you had to add that new snowplow. So you can imagine that I might come to you for 4 or 5 projects, and I would say, nope, no marginal increase in the cost of services for the city to provide. And then that very unlucky 6th project would show up on your agenda, and I'd say, yep, new cop, new snowplow, all that. And so you'd go from no impact from the cost of projects 1 through 5, and then poor project number 6 would end up with all of this burden from a marginal cost. That really is probably the right way to do it, but it's incredibly challenging to calculate that, and it does seem to be a little bit unfair to project number 6 at all. So we use average costs, and I would say to you that I think the impact of that determination is that for each individual project, that probably overstates the costs of that project. If we have enough of them over time, it probably works out because those marginal costs turn into average costs at some point. And so I do want you to be aware that when we do this calculation, it is inexact. We do our best, but we do rely on average costs. And so in your packet behind our memo, you will see a summary grid that describes the expected benefits and costs for the city, for Johnson County, and for the school district. In each one of those cases, we are calculating a positive net present value benefit. And for the city, that is largely because you all collect a lot more revenues than a school district does, for instance. You not only get property taxes, which are going to be abated in part, but not in whole. As Brian mentioned, there is a payment in lieu of taxes. About, what, 1/5 of that or so comes to the city. But you also collect sales taxes, you collect franchise fees, all those kinds of things as well. The county has a smaller collection of revenues that it generates, property taxes and sales taxes largely, and its mill levy is lower than yours as well. The school district, as the result of a legislative change in 2017, really arguably doesn't see any direct impact from property tax abatements anymore. The way that school funding is calculated, there's a formula that generates a certain amount of revenue per student. The local effort toward that really sort of just contributes to that amount per student these days. But there is one levy that school districts care about, and that is their capital levy, which under state law they're allowed to levy up to 8 mills. Most levy as close to that 8 as they can. And you may remember back in the days of the block grant for school funding, schools and cities really were at loggerheads over property tax abatements because abatements TIFs, those kinds of things really did create negative impacts that those districts felt. During that block grant era, the state law changed and allowed school districts to use that capital levy for purposes other than capital. So it becomes sort of discretionary funds for the districts. They care a lot about that 8 mil levy as a result. And starting in 2017, that is excluded from capture from property tax abatement. So you can see that the net present value benefit to the school district looks disproportionately high, and that's because a chunk of their levy is not captured or is not abated with a property tax abatement. So ultimately, the property tax abatement here does show net positive present value benefit for each of the taxing entities. You will see at the very bottom of the page in red, there is a large negative number for the state. That is largely because the greatest impact of the construction tax abatement, sales tax abatement or exemption runs to the state because it has the largest single sales tax levy among all of us. One last note I wanted to raise is when we look at apartment complexes, it's a little weird. We are looking, you'll see that the number of jobs created looks pretty small. It's 4. And you think, there's gonna be a lot of people living in these apartments. How can that be the case? And that is the case because we are looking at the apartments as the business that we are measuring. And so that 4 is the jobs that will be created to manage the apartments, to maintain the apartments. Again, we do not look at the second order benefits clearly. Those residents in the apartments will have jobs. They may be here in town. They will potentially generate sales taxes, those kinds of things. We're not capturing that specific impact here. We are looking at this just as if my company were to move and seek a property tax abatement. We have X amount of employees and those kinds of things. So I did want to point that out in case you had any question about how I got 4 jobs out of a couple hundred apartments. Mr. Mayor, happy to try to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you, Mr. White. Is there any questions for Mr. White? Questions this way? Nothing? Any questions this way? Nothing? Okay, thank you, Mr. White.
Mayor, is there any, I'd just ask if there's any questions from the council from our staff before you open up your public hearing?
Any questions for Director Dyer? Have any questions? No? No questions that way, so it's okay to open the public hearing now. All right, we will open up the public hearing. We have an individual who wants to come forward. I got a couple people here listed on this. Okay, go ahead, sir. Name record.
Billy Crone, 6633 West Street, Serrano Apartments. You know, don't think we didn't notice that name change, because it was Merriam Grand Marketplace, I think, like a year ago. And then starting December, January, something, it started to be called Serrano. That was the first time I saw that name in that context. But it sounded familiar, and it just clicked why, because Joseph Serrano was like one of the leadership people at the financial advisor firm that gives us legal counsel for these projects. So how is that not a conflict of interest that the advising company has some relationship to the owner of the apartment buildings themselves that are asking for this grant? Yeah, I know that in 2025. Yes. Yeah, but it's still related, is it not? Is it just a coincidence of the name?
Move on, Mr.
All right. So IRBs, CIDs, TIF, GO, oh my, all these benefits, tax abatements for how long? What, 10 years? Are we abating the residents' taxes in this city at all? Do my neighbors get any benefits from this? Are they going to get a tax abatement? I doubt it. But we're giving it to the wealthy. Again, it's more corporate welfare in this city. We've had too much, and you shouldn't continue to do this. Do not approve these IRBs tonight. Of course, you're going to do what you want, but you know, your residents are here. We're watching. Do you work for us or do you work for Serrano? You get to decide.
Okay.
And I also caught a little cute quote. The average citizen costs the city. That was the words spoken earlier today, and that is such a repulsive attitude to say that the citizens are costing the city some amount. No, the city works for the citizens. It belongs to us. We are not a burden on the city. It is us.
Okay, anyone else would like to come forward to talk about this particular item? Okay. I see no one else coming forward. All right.
Mayor, please close the hearing.
Okay, yeah, I'll just check and see if there's anything else
Okay.
that we're down to, I guess, the end of that section, right? Okay. Well, okay, we'll close the hearing out, public hearing itself, at this point. Next item up, I guess, is,
Consider the resolution
Yeah.
of intent.
yeah. Do you need to speak to us any more on that?
Not, oh, no, we don't. Only unless council has some questions, be happy to answer your questions.
Okay, because I think the next item up is going to be to vote on a motion for that. Does anyone have any questions for Director Dyer considering that before we call for a motion? No? Okay. I would entertain a motion. Ms. Veta?
Mr. Mayor, I move that the council approve a resolution of intent to issue federally industrial revenue bonds in the principal amount not to exceed $55,900,000 for the residential component of the Serrano Merriam Grand Station Marketplace apartment development and authorize the mayor to sign the resolution.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second? Okay, go ahead, Mr. Lahey.
I move to second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion, second. Madam Clerk?
Councilmember Kozmeyer.
Aye.
Councilmember Hands.
Aye.
Councilmember Caldwell.
Aye.
Councilmember Leahy.
Aye.
Councilmember Ryder.
Aye.
Councilmember Silvers.
Aye.
Councilmember Shavetta.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Looks like next item up this evening, looks like we have Director Gumpke come to the podium, consider acceptance of recommendations.
So good evening, Mayor and Council. The Shawnee Mission Parkway and I-35 interchange and corridor within Merriam city limits is one of the Kansas City Metro's busiest corridors with over 40,000 vehicles per day. There are a number of operational and safety issues associated with this corridor and interchange. One, it has some of our highest crash rates in Merriam. There is congestion, closely spaced access points, and lack of pedestrian facilities, and traffic continues to increase annually. In order to address these deficiencies and establish an overall vision for this rapidly developing corridor, the city hired H&TB to conduct a concept study. Based on the results of this study, a diverging diamond interchange, or DDI, is recommended at Shawnee Mission Parkway and I-35, as well as improvements on Shawnee Mission Parkway and Antioch. This recommendation was presented to a work group, which was formed to review results and help guide the recommendations. The work group met over 3 times during the project and consisted of city and KDOT staff, council members, residents, and business owners. It's important to note that the interchange and corridor east of I-35 is owned and maintained by KDOT, and the city does not plan to reconstruct this interchange without federal funding. As we all know, KDOT has so many needs and priorities, so completing this concept study is the first step towards showing KDOT that the interchange improvements are a priority for the city and that we are willing to spend city funds up front to develop a solution to advance this project. Having a recommendation and concept also helps this project score higher when applying for federal funding, since we have already identified a solution. H&TB Corporation is here tonight and will present a brief summary of the project. H&TB has numerous experience working with KDOT on interchange studies and projects, and some of them, I'm sure there's more than this, but some of the ones that they've worked on are all along I-35, 95th, 119th, Santa Fe is getting underway for construction, and 151st and Lone Elm. So they're very, very well qualified to do this type of work. I'm going to go ahead and introduce the project team. We have Brent Gerard here. He's our project manager, and he's going to present the results. Ben Will is our group, I have to look at his name, Group Director for Municipal Services. Ip Strauss is the traffic planner. So feel free to ask questions as we go along, and at the end of the presentation, we ask you to consider acceptance of the recommendations presented in the concept study. And I know it's a big report that we attach, but really it documents the steps in the methodology that we use to get here. So without further ado, let me pull up the presentation.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. Appreciate your time tonight. I'll just jump right into it. In the interest of keeping things short, we're going to focus on these first 2 primary goals. The first being the I-35 and Shawnee Mission Parkway interchange, and the bullet 2 there is more in line with the Shawnee Mission Parkway and Antioch intersection improvements. We did do some concepts for the 67th Street, but we're not going to cover those tonight. All of that information is in the report, though, and I'm happy to answer any of those questions offline.
Thank you.
So the first step was to analyze the existing traffic and kind of see where things were at. We gathered all kinds of data, both from KDOT. We did a bunch of traffic counts. I should have mentioned that, sorry, on this back deal. Hopefully I don't confuse you. So the green boundary there, that was the study limits, and all those red, the circles and the X's were where we got additional traffic counts and turning movements. So we supplemented that with the KDOT data, ran an actual full traffic model for this area, and the results that we found, so along Shawnee Mission Parkway, I'm sure none of this is groundbreaking to those of you obviously live here. Heaviest congestion is between the ramps there. The worst movement is westbound east of Antioch, and what we found there is it's a lot of that traffic, it's poor lane utilization. Everybody's starting to stack up on that inside lane wanting to go south on I-35, and so it starts to back up real bad. Both peak times are poor, but the PM's worse. And then along I-35, so although it was not the primary context of this study, we did need to look at it as if this were to proceed to go into design. We've prepped this with the traffic model for that break-in access, so that's why we got some of the traffic counts at Johnson Drive and then 67. So doing that, then the model there in the middle, southbound is already over capacity between Johnson Drive and 67th, and then northbound is near capacity. What that means is if you're ever driving like on a weekend and you've got your choice of lanes, that's not at capacity. It's not even close. You're in the green, and we'll look at some of those slides here coming up. When you're at capacity, that means it's pretty full, but you don't have any meaningful delay. So it might be a little bit uncomfortable, might be a little bit stressful, but you're basically getting A to B same time you would, whether you don't have much traffic at all. This is that kind of color-coded thing I was just talking about. So this on the left, the existing conditions are what I was just kind of covering, and then the future no build, it's kind of a tricky term. All it means is the existing conditions with nothing else done. No improvements, no change at your interchange, no change at Antioch. Again, green, totally wide open, you're good. Yellow is actually acceptable, so that's where you're kind of at capacity, but you do not have any meaningful delays. Orange and red are when you start to see really heavy congestion and you're sitting there waiting at multiple, phases to get through a stoplight or whatnot. So you can see in the existing, at Slater, it's red, and then Antioch, it's yellow, so you're already at capacity today. In the future, it backs way up. This is the PM, very similar to the AM. The one thing to note here is in the future, you can see how poor I-35 is now at this point. For that PM condition, it's basically red north and south in this area. These were the vehicle queues I was talking about. I know it's kind of, well, actually, that's pretty big up there, isn't it? So the red is the backups then of the vehicles. And does my cursor show up? Yeah. So going east of Antioch, just off the page here is actually Metcalf. So in the worst, this is the PM peak hour shown, but the AM is virtually the same. And in those worst case scenarios, this backs up almost to Metcalf, which is not great. So once we got through that initial, the existing and then future traffic volumes, we started to look at our interchange screening. So we started with these 8 configurations that you're seeing on the left side. The first step was using Federal Highway Administration's, they have a traffic tool that you can plug in like your traffic volumes and then see how they would forecast to operate. It's pretty high level, but it does give a really good starting place. So we did that, and if it wasn't gonna provide a benefit over what you all have, we eliminated it. So that immediately cut it down from 8 to the 3 that you see in the green box. From that point then, we did kind of like a consumer reports matrix evaluation. We used the evaluation categories you see here in the middle box. We did vet these with the city staff at those focus group meetings that Celia mentioned. We developed these and then the weighted rating system that we use to evaluate. Once we plugged in those 3, ran it through that process, we came out with 2 options that were far and away the best. A partial cloverleaf, you could ignore the A configuration. This is an engineering thing, should have taken that off, sorry. And then the diverging diamond. Once we looked at the 2, the partial cloverleaf and diverging diamond, and I skipped about 5 steps here, so I'll go through them real quick. So we did a further in-depth evaluation of those 2. We developed full concepts, and we'll look at the DDI coming up here in a second, but we did that so that we could develop some quantities for cost estimates. We did full future traffic models for both configurations. And then, gosh, I got blanked. So anyways, we ran those all through, then a new evaluation. This time, we updated the categories to be very project specific and address the issues that were brought up to us by staff. So the evaluation category shrank to the 5 that you see here: traffic operations, safety, construction costs, the ability to address those key issues, and then knowing that we have issues on I-35, the ability to address future enhancements there. As you can see here, the diverging diamond actually came out on top on every single category. The one caveat was both met the future traffic demand virtually equally. So that one, the partial cloverleaf, actually ranked a 1 there too, but it was second in everything else. So the diverging diamond, clear and away, was the best alternative for your particular configuration there. This is a kind of a high level zoomed in of the concept. It actually extends to the west past the BNSF bridge and all the way through Antioch, and we'll cover those intersection improvements here in a second. But just to show the difference of what our future model builds, so if you'll remember back a few slides, on the top there's that future no build and how bad those queues were up here east of Antioch. And then just generally too, you can see in between the ramps how much red and between Antioch and the ramps. If you look at the future configuration with the DDI, you have much less vehicle queuing in this area. And then east of Antioch, it looks great, operates much better. This is the PM version of the same charts. And then a different way to look at it, again, going back to those color shapes. On the top, you can see that future no build. We looked at that a few slides back. On the bottom is that future DDI configuration. So at Antioch, we go from a level, like a terrible level of service with several minutes of delay to it's maxed, but it's acceptable then. And then let's see if I can do this without messing stuff up. Just escape.
How do you put this? Yeah, escape.
Yeah, thank you. So as part of this too, we did a 3D model to show what this could look like. I'm going to talk through a couple things and I'll hit play. I know they're really tiny, but you can actually see some people here that will access like these pedestrian crossways. This is looking west. So I know these always aren't super popular with folks because it's kind of like you're not used to driving on the wrong side of the road. But the real benefit with the DDI is you cut one of the phases out, or at least one, if not two, of the phases out. So you basically have this movement here, and then which these folks have a free flow right, just like they would when these folks are going left. The difference is the footprint of this interchange is much smaller, and the green time here is a lot longer because you have less phases. So I'm gonna try not to make everybody dizzy. I'm gonna speed up just a smidge, and we'll look to the east then. So you can see these folks starting to go, and then the pedestrians can walk down the middle at any time. And then when these, like this movement's going, they'd stop here, but the folks on the other side here would be able to go freely because there's nobody crossing them. So it doesn't get any more exciting than that, so I'm gonna stop it. So on to the Antioch improvements. What we went through several options here to try to figure this out. It was a bit of a conundrum. What actually ended up working, which is, you know, I forget the cliche there, but the easiest solution is usually the right one or whatever. So that's how this turned out. What we did was close the median breaks at the north and south Hadley entrances. By doing that, we're able to extend this left turn lane hundreds of feet. In addition to this outside through lane, it stops today about right here where this turn lane is. We've carried that all the way through now through Hadley, and that additional storage space really alleviates the amount of people trying to queue in here on this inside lane. It also allows, what was happening before is some of the folks that wanted to go left because the turn lane wasn't enough. So to be clear, there's not enough cars that are going to stack up this far. But what happens is when everybody's trying to get in that inside lane, then the people that need to go left can't get to the left lane. So by adding this extra lane out here and increasing the length here, it enables folks to get in here to go left, which then reduces the storage here in addition to that, the lengthened lane there. So just to summarize, the DDI is a recommended alternative that we've come up with. In conjunction with those Antioch improvements, it does show significant improvement. It's going to increase safety, reduce congestion. Most importantly, I know a big concern was getting pedestrians across I-35 because there's no connection today. The other concepts that we've carried through that you'll see in the report actually carry that connection all the way to the western city limits. Conceptual costs that you see here, these are based on actual quantities. It's limited. The data we used, the vertical data, was from Ames 2-foot contours, but for planning purposes, we feel pretty confident about these. It does include right-of-way, utilities, and construction costs. So for the Shawnee Parkway and Antioch intersection, we're looking at about $4.3 million in today's dollars. I do want to briefly caveat that too. We kind of assume like a conservative worst case scenario if y'all wanted the diamond approach and you wanted to reconstruct everything we were touching. You could probably drop that pretty significantly if you were looking to value engineer that. And then the DDI, 32 to 43 million. I know that's a big range. It really depends on if the BNSF bridge needs to be reconstructed. At first, it's in pretty good condition. The girders, the superstructure's all good. We were looking at the bridge reports. I couldn't get my structures folks to commit though because the abutments and the piers are about 100 years old. So they look to be in very good condition, but generally those are the useful life. So a couple potential limitations I do want to note. These are in the report. So that full benefit of the DDI, the caveat is it does include those Antioch intersection improvements. They're related, but they are separate projects. So I do think if the Antioch improvements were done first, you will see an improvement over what you have today. But you certainly will not get the operational efficiency that we showed with the model of the DDI without those Antioch improvements. Because with no improvements there, there's really no way to improve that lane utilization issue that you all see today. And then finally, the elephant in the room. So the future traffic volumes on I-35 are expected to drastically exceed capacity. I think in the worst case scenario, the one peak hour, our traffic folks saw that red level of service, that super long delay lasting for well over 2 hours in the peak time. So nobody's going to want to get caught in that. The only reason I mentioned that, the DDI and the Antioch improvements are going to help Shawnee Mission Parkway significantly. The drawback is you're going to put a lot more traffic onto I-35 faster than you were before. So there's very real possibility with no further work on I-35 that becomes your bottleneck. So the next steps would be just to continue to foster that partnership with KDOT, building awareness, trust, possibly aligning any future considerations with the needs of the corridor, maybe teaming up with some other local cities, and then just looking and pursuing any possible funding. So with that, I'm hoping I get lucky and there's no questions like the last one.
Too bad.
Ms. Hanson.
So I have just a real basic question because it's always bothered me.
Yeah.
So is the reason DDIs are so effective because we're uncomfortable and so we don't go as fast because we're going on the wrong side of the road?
There might be something to that. We do, the traffic is slowed down through there because the geometry, the primary effectiveness comes, so if you're out there today, you, like a general intersection, right? You come up and you've got like, your phase is basically two phases, right? You have the left and the through, and then the opposite does the same, and then you do that on the other corners. It's kind of similar at the intersection you're coming up now because you have, if you're northbound and you get up to Shawnee Mission Parkway, you kind of get stuck there until you go left or green. Well, they're doing it on the other side too, and then you've got your through movements who also have to do that, a left and a through. So the DDI narrows that down to two phases. So by putting traffic, on the opposite side of the road, that left takes a left at the same time they're going through. So now you don't need two phases for that.
Thank you.
Okay, go ahead, Ms. Schmidt.
Yeah, I have a question about the Antioch and Shawnee Mission Parkway improvements. So we could reasonably implement that, hopefully, before we could get to the DDI. Is that something that you believe? You said that would be the full realization of the DDI, but if we did the Antioch and Shawnee Mission Parkway improvements in the next, whenever time frame, while we're waiting on improving a relationship with KDOT and trying to get funding, did the data show that would help a lot too, like currently?
Anecdotally,
Or
I think
I
that's
say
the
a
word
lot,
I'm looking for. So we did not run the existing traffic model that we had just with the Antioch improvements. That would be the best answer I could give you if we had that, but we don't. But the improvement that we saw, because we had this a very similar improvement across two different types of interchanges, when I was talking with our traffic folks, I think a lot of that has to do with just the Antioch improvements alone, so.
Thank you.
Okay, hang on a second. Mr. Lehane.
This is more of a staff question. Isn't all of Shawnee Mission Parkway, at least in our city, a highway as well? Wouldn't we look for KDOT funding for that interchange?
Yes. I mean, it is, east of I-35 is KDOT owned and maintained. So yes.
I mean, we could do them as separate projects, but we'd still probably want to do it with KDOT funding.
The improvements also show improvements on Antioch as well to help, when we have the Trader Joe's. So we'd like to put it in the CIP and we can look at different funding, but if we wait for KDOT funding, it may take a little while, whereas if we could invest the money at those improvements now, that may help us expedite, the traffic improvements.
Mr. Silvers.
I have two quick questions. So as I'm sure you know, because it was part of this study, one of City Council's goals was to make the city more walkable and bikeable. And I do appreciate that this plan has a pedestrian way across I-35. I did notice that it didn't look like there were sidewalks on both sides of the streets on on Shawnee Mission Parkway. I'm sure that was probably caused due to, say, Barron BMW, and how the landscape is there. But can you explain that real quick?
Sure. Yeah, so east of the interchange, we do have sidewalks on both sides. The DDI is going to carry pedestrians through the middle, whether you have it on both sides, east or west or not. On the west side, we could look at that down the road. It's going to be very challenging due to the terrain and the topography you have on the south side of Shawnee Mission Parkway, west of the interchange. There's really steep hills. There's pretty big retaining walls over there. There's a lot of like utility street lights. So it's not something that we recommended at this time, but if that was, a desire of the council, you could look at that further in design.
Okay.
That's why we didn't do it for this.
Yeah, I appreciate that you answering that, and I understand the issue that is there. The other question I had is, from my experience at the 95th Street DDI, when you're crossing either east or west over I-35 and you want to merge onto let's say if you're going east and you're crossing over I-35 and you want to then merge onto northbound I-35, there is a light after you make that turn to prevent you from merging into the lanes that are coming the opposite direction. I didn't see that in your animation, and so I didn't know if you were going to have that. And then I was also wondering if the placement, like how it is at 95th Street, is the best placement because you don't see it until you're already trying to merge onto I-35, and I have multiple times had to not slam on my brakes, but stop quickly because I get around the corner and that's when I see that I have the red.
I'm not 100%. I'm trying to picture it and I'm not 100% following.
The plane graphic, maybe?
Yeah. So you're talking about like if you were this.
You're on the inside lane.
Uh-huh.
And then you want to get onto I-35.
Yep.
And you turn left there. Right there is where there's a light, at least on the night, if you go farther.
Oh, there is. So there's
I'm
the.
sorry, as you're going onto the ramp. Stop there. Now back a little. Right about there is where there's a light for people entering onto I-35. Sorry, I don't have my mic on. And it's a difficult placement to see. So I don't know. I didn't see one on your animation, and I don't know if you're planning on having a light there.
So there's a little light here for these folks to stop, but when this movement is green, they have the right of way then to turn. So these folks would be stopped here at this light.
But the people going, you're saying that would be stopped there, when they have a green, do the people going the direction that your arrow is pointing on, going onto I-35?
Mm-hmm.
Will they have a light there?
No, it's all green. That's what makes this efficient. The folks that are going left go at the same time that you're going through.
Correct. What I'm saying is, sorry, I'm not sure if I'm making this clear. At the point that they have a red, where is their light telling them that they cannot get on I-35?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
So I can give
yeah.
a few comments. So the first diverging diamond in the country was MoDOT did down in Springfield, and they did it. They just put the signals at the two intersections, and they found that there were some movements where you look back to your left like you do on a diamond, you don't see anyone, and so you go, but that's now people are on the opposite side. So they started adding some additional lights and some signage, like for this northbound off ramp and you want to go east, sometimes we'll see no right turn on red because you're looking back to the left.
We need for you to have the pointer, sorry.
So I guess the point is that yes, that additional safety concerns of no right turn on red and additional lights will be part of the design. So I think KDOT has seen that over time, and if you look at those at different diverging diamonds, they're starting to add those where they see high crashes.
Okay, thank you.
So yeah. But to answer your question, diverging diamonds, you're starting to see them pop up all over because they are very efficient when you have a high amount of traffic wanting to get on and off the interstate. If you have if your predominant movement is through the interchange, not as efficient as when you have a lot of left turns onto the interchange. So
I agree they are much better, but I always wondered why.
so, and like Brent said, because you're eliminating one of the traffic signals that you have to go through. And also, they're usually cheaper than an interchange because you don't need left turn bays. If you imagine going, you know, from westbound to go southbound, you know, you just have a movement here, whereas today you have a double left turn bay. So they can be narrower too. So couple of facts for that.
All right, no more curveballs.
I think one of the things, it depends, yeah, sorry. I don't know if we quite answered it. The only thing I can think of that might clarify with some of them is, like here, we're showing 2 lefts going into 2 receiving lanes. So you won't be able to do the rights, like the right will have to be stopped. Some of them only have a single left, and so then the rights could keep going at the same time. So I think that might be the examples that you're talking about.
You nailed it. I didn't notice that there were 2 lefts.
Yeah, so in this case, you won't be able to do the rights when the lefts are going. I think that's what you were trying to understand. Yep. Thank you. Yep.
Do we have any other questions for Mr. Gerard? Okay, all right.
All right, thank
Well,
you.
thank you for, I know that was a lengthy process trying to get us to where we are today. I appreciate all of the effort you guys went through to do that.
No, our pleasure. It was fun.
All right,
Thank you.
thanks, sir.
There's a motion.
Okay, yes. At this point then, as far as I would consider a motion to accept the recommendations, is it someone like me? Ms. Hans? Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I move that the council accept the recommendations provided in the Shawnee Mission Parkway and I-35 Interchange Concept Study Report.
Okay, we have a motion. We have a second. Ms. Shredder.
Mr. Mayor, second.
Madam Clerk, we have a motion and a second.
Councilmember Hans.
Aye.
Councilmember Caldwell.
Aye.
Councilmember Leahy.
Aye.
Councilmember Ryder.
Aye.
Councilmember Silvers.
Aye.
Councilmember Shavetta.
Aye.
Councilmember Kosmeyer.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Okay, well, it looks like we're next item up, consider sidewalk construction. Actually, we have Director Cumpy coming to the podium.
Good evening again. Tonight, you have a very important decision to make regarding whether to construct sidewalks in the West Vernon and whether to remove or leave islands in place as part of our street improvement project. So a little background on the subdivision. The subdivision of West Vernon Place was constructed in the 60s with no sidewalks. In 2019, the subdivision was scheduled for installation of new sidewalks and pavement, but due to strong resident feedback, the council canceled the project. Since then, the city has adopted a number of policies and plans that encourage but do not require sidewalks. As you know, one of your council goals, 3.4, is to improve safety for all modes of travel throughout the community. And then we have the 2022 Complete Streets Policy. We're designated as a community for all ages city, and the 2022 Mobile Merriam Plan, which all encourage and promote pedestrian and bicycle connectivity. Since these policies have been adopted and it's been 6 years since the sidewalk project was canceled, the city has decided to take the opportunity to revisit this topic and seek updated resident feedback before design moves forward. And a number of residents have asked, why are you considering this? We already made this decision in 2019. So I just wanted to add, anytime we begin a project, we look at all of our infrastructure to determine what should be improved. We typically replace sidewalk and curb in poor condition, or consider adding new sidewalks if there aren't any existing. And that's why we're doing this, that's why we're talking about this for this project. Plus, since it's been 6 years since the topic has been considered, we wanted to perform our due diligence. We didn't want to just assume that that was still, the neighborhood's decision, because we didn't know what the turnover rate was in the neighborhood. So we thought it would be important to ask that question again. So in November, a survey was mailed out to residents along with a proposed sidewalk layout plan, seeking their input on the addition of new sidewalks. Residents were asked whether to leave the existing islands or remove them during construction, and whether they wanted new sidewalks. So every household was asked about the sidewalks and the Maston Drive Island, and then that those that live on a cul-de-sac were also asked whether they preferred the islands within their cul-de-sac to remain, since the islands can be difficult to maneuver around, especially for fire trucks and snowplows. Survey questions were mailed to 81 residential properties, and 62 responded. Some of those included where the council walked the neighborhood as well. And so we had a response rate of over 76%. And do you mind pulling up the table? So the results are shown in the table. So as you see, should sidewalks be constructed? 34% said yes, 61% said no, and 5% were undecided or indifferent. Although the majority of responders are against sidewalks, staff felt that we needed to recommend to install sidewalks because we have these adopted plans or policies. However, we recognize that it's the council's prerogative to make decisions based on resident feedback, and there is a clear majority indicating that sidewalks are not desired in this neighborhood. Although there are existing plans and policies, these plans encourage, but they do not require sidewalks. And most of I think almost every single neighborhood has sidewalks, except for West Vernon and Sherwood Forest. And when we did a project in 2022, we did not put in sidewalks in Sherwood Forest due to topography issues. So there is some precedence. As far as islands, the existing islands have a radius of about 35 feet, and our building code requires 50 feet. So if we were putting in a new subdivision, we would not allow islands to be in the cul-de-sacs, and they would have to be much wider so that emergency vehicles could turn around. And so if we decide to leave the islands and replace, we're grandfathering them in. But in a new subdivision, we wouldn't allow these islands because of those reasons. So if you look at the table that's been pulled up, the first question is, should Maston Drive Islands remain? 29 said yes, 27 said no, and 6 were undecided or indifferent. Those that like the island are supportive since it helps calms traffic, and they like the aesthetics of it. Based on these survey results, we're recommending that this island remain in place, but we would like to replace the curb during construction. As far as the other islands, the 65th Drive Island and the 66th Drive, as you can see, there's just a real slight majority that are against the islands remaining. Some of those have mentioned that it can be difficult to drive around when there's cars parked in their cul-de-sacs, and some are concerned that they didn't know who's maintaining those, who's the responsibility, because those aren't the responsibility of the city, they would be the homeowners. And so we're recommending that those islands be removed during construction. Now, if you look at the 65th Place Island, there were 5 that were for the island, 4 against, so there were 9 out of 11 responses. 9 responded and 2 did not respond back. But we're recommending to go with that recommendation too. Residents currently maintain this island and have previously applied for and received island grant funds to beautify this island. And I asked our snowplow drivers, they said, well, we typically don't see a lot of cars parked in the cul-de-sac during snow events, so they can plow. So anyway, we're recommending that that island remain in place. 2 different motions have been provided depending on your decision, and these motions can be modified depending on your decision related to the islands. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Any questions for Director Kumke? Go ahead, Ms. Reiner.
Is the proposed sidewalks the same proposal as before, or is it different in some way?
The same.
Questions over here, Ms. Shveta?
I have a question. I know that this would be going to design with whatever we decide tonight, but I had some questions about the curbs and what curb design we would recommend as part of the stormwater project and all of that. Are we looking at the lazy back curves, or would it be the, and it depends probably, but I was just curious.
Typically, in a new subdivision, we would do the lazy back because they're mountable curbs that you can drive up over if you need to. But once we get in design, if there is a reason to not put in those, then we'll take a look at that. But that's our preliminary recommendation.
Yeah, I think that's what they have now for the majority, or if not all of them are that, I think anyway.
I think it's mixed.
Okay. The ones that I looked at specifically were the lazy back, but just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Down lower, I think they're the
Okay.
the other type B.
Thank you.
Other questions? Mr. Leahy?
Mine's really a little bit more of a comment. I wanted to commend staff and the council and the mayor who went out and knocked doors and for putting the poll together. And I completely understand the recommendation that staff's made. I think, staff answers to us, we answer the residents, and we've told staff that we want walkable neighborhoods as one of our council goals. And so I think you didn't really have much of a choice but to recommend that because that's what we've told you we want. So for anybody who doesn't understand, that's why staff made the recommendation that they did, is because we've told staff time and again that that's one of our goals. I look at this poll results. I don't agree with the residents. I think sidewalks are safer. I understand that, the laws of statistics say that eventually somebody will get hit walking in the street. I'm also not liable to give them sidewalks if they don't want them. I just want to make sure that my conscience probably never will be clear if I vote not to install sidewalks. I'll always probably lose a little bit of sleep over the fact that eventually somebody's going to get hit, and that's going to be on me and on staff. But not on staff. It's going to be me and on council if that's what we decide as a group to do. But I do think they're safer. I do think they promote better walkable neighborhoods. I do think it's not just pedestrian safety, but time and time again, sidewalks have shown that they increase general safety for residents in terms of police calls. There are when more people are out and about walking, there are less home invasions, less burglary attempts. That's just general, that's what the numbers prove. So I just wanted to make that statement before people got up here and either complained at us or we had more discussion about it. But I understand that people don't want them for whatever myriad of reasons. Some may not be listed up there that are personal held beliefs, but I do think they're safer, and I do think that ultimately it's the wrong decision not to install them, but that's what I'm leaning to because that's what people want.
Okay, Mr. Silvers.
I also just have a comment, and I want to reiterate what Jacob said. I want to commend staff for doing this study because we did ask for you to. I also want to commend the mayor. When I first got on council in 2018, he and Dave Neal met with me to talk about this issue, and we walked the neighborhood. But he also really pushed for us to do surveys. And I think this survey shows clearly that there is a majority, even though it's a small majority, that they still don't want sidewalks, and they are okay with losing 2 of their islands. And I think, based on my experience with supporting surveys, that I have to honor that. So I think this shows that surveys work.
Thank you, Mr. Silvers. Ms. Shveta, go ahead.
Couple comments and questions. I agree with everyone. My personal belief doesn't matter though, because I'm here to, represent our residents and this, especially this neighborhood being a Ward 4 neighborhood. I do want to ask a question. If we do not install sidewalks now, if it were the will of a future council, could we come back with a sidewalk infill program if residents start, there's going to be turnover in neighborhoods. That's just the way that older neighborhoods work, and Merriam specifically. I heard from, there are 21 households that wanted sidewalks, and I heard from a lot of them, and a lot of the reasons they wanted sidewalks is because they're starting families or they already have families that they want their kids to ride their bicycle on the sidewalk or get their stroller out on the sidewalk. And so I want to make sure we're also listening to them, even though it is a representative majority, and it's very clear 61% do not want sidewalks, and I need to honor that personally. But just curious from a future standpoint, could we, if it was the will of the council in a future CIP, could we do that?
Yes, I mean, typically we would wait till there's another street overlay, but we could have a standalone sidewalk project.
Thank you.
Mr. Cosmo.
What would that general duration before the next street overlay?
So, I haven't really talked about pavement, but we did take some pavement cores, and we found that the pavement is inadequate for what we would expect, and you can see it by driving the neighborhood, how cracked it is, because I think we did an overlay back in 2012, and it's ready to do it again. So we're thinking that we need to do a full depth of reconstruction, and so if we do that, we're projecting that the pavement should last another 20 to 25 years at the most.
Thanks.
Excuse me.
Go ahead, Ms. Schmidt.
Sorry, this is more project specific, and so I know we'll talk about this after design and when construction starts, but I know you collected emails. I feel like you probably got a lot of people's emails. I would love to see communication, and just because it is one way in, one way out in this neighborhood, I want to make sure that our residents feel safe and are able to get in and out of their houses easily during construction. I know that there's a greater good here for the stormwater project, but just, and again, I know we'll talk about this later, but just want to get it out there too. Thank you.
Yeah, we're working on our communications. We've upgraded our website, and we also have a number of emails, so we plan to really communicate with the residents on this project.
Other questions for Director Kumke? Oh, go ahead, Mr. Cosmo.
Yeah, I just have a similar comment just about sidewalks in general. I enjoy living in a neighborhood with sidewalks, but I also live on a street that I feel like is busier than a normal street, and definitely much busier than a normal street in West Vernon. And so I understand why people in West Vernon feel safe walking along just the street instead of the sidewalk. And I'm glad that Stacy pushed for us to get out there and knock, even though it was very cold. And we had a pretty good amount of respondents, but I think we just, since we were able to get out there and make an attempt on every single remaining house, I feel a lot better about the survey results. Yeah.
Okay,
I have a couple real quick. Do we know what percentage of households that 81 responses constitutes?
Yeah. Well, there's
Wait, what do you
81,
mean?
and it's 76%.
Oh, so it was 62
of
respondents,
81.
81, okay.
Yeah.
Also, I live in a neighborhood that has sidewalks on one side of the street, sidewalks in my yard. I want to point out that one of the comments was additional maintenance, i.e. shoveling. We don't require shoveling. We don't have a code and ordinance about shoveling sidewalks.
Correct.
Make sure people understand that. Like, usually snow's melted by the time code enforcement can notice and/or go through the time that residents have to fix it. So I think shoveling is kind of a moot point on, yes, it's nice if you shovel your sidewalk for your neighbors, but the city doesn't require it.
Right.
And it's just interesting, Stacy, to hear you say that some of the comments that were, you've got a lot of people who want them because they have kids that would like to ride on it. A favorite idiom of mine is that, everybody wants a village, but nobody wants to be a villager.
Okay. Any other questions? Looks like we're winding down on questions. Okay, I know we have several people in the audience. I think they want to speak to this as well. Did you have anything else for us, Director Kumke, about the subject? Okay, I think the first one up would be Mr. Osterhaus. You wanted to speak on this topic?
My name is Al Osterhaus. I live at 9920 West 65th Place in Merriam. And I'm hoping that what I hear is that the island on West 65th Place is a firm keep. Is that what I hear right now?
I think that was the recommendation.
It's a recommendation.
Recommendation.
Uh,
We'll know after the vote, but that's a recommendation at this point.
But then I'll go through what I have here, and I'd like to keep all the islands. Sure, a few of the islands are pretty much disrepair, but I live on West 65th Place, and the island serves many purposes. One of the purposes is the traffic. It slows the traffic down. If we keep any of the islands, I want to keep 65th Place and the one on Maston. It's a must that we keep those two at least. And they serve purposes not only for traffic flow, but also, and I'll speak for Maston, where I live, West 65th Place, the neighborhood children like to play on the island. They like to sit there. One day I saw the mother reading, the kids were sitting on the rocks, mother reading the book. Kids like to climb the tree. And in the wintertime, when the snow plows push snow up in big piles, kids like to tunnel in there and make caves and play on that. So it's very important for the little children. And a lot of work goes into the maintenance and upkeep of the island. And at one time, former Mayor French, she commended Merriam for all the islands that were constructed or that were maintained. I think at one time there were about 27. I can't remember, but there were a lot. And okay, there's now an issue with traffic, especially with larger vehicles. The city of Merriam,
You got 53 seconds. I know you want to talk about sidewalks too, probably, but.
yeah,
Okay.
the city of Merriam does a good job of snow plowing. The guys are good drivers. They visit the neighborhood probably a dozen times during the wintertime, but they manage to get around there. Trash trucks, they get up along the curb to get the trash. The island's not a problem. And last September, I talked to a former chief of the fire department, and now he goes by the title of mayor. And Bob, he was over with the neighborhood picnic, and he mentioned that the drivers of these fire trucks are taught how to back those things up, back them up to the intersections and make their way out. Semi trucks come in and back and forth, and they don't have any problems. So.
Your time is up, sir.
But-
Okay, I'll wrap it up. I'll give you about 15 more seconds.
But anyway, keeping the island is not a safety issue. Keeping the island is not a safety issue, and I think it adds to the community. And as far as the sidewalk, we talked about this last year, and I thought it was a done deal, but I guess it's being resurrected again, so, okay.
Thank you, Mr. Osai. Okay, I also have Mr. Fleming. Sir, if you want to come forward and name and address to the podium.
I'm Mike Fleming. I live at 10107 West 65th Street. Been there 36 years, raised my family there. And the sidewalk would be in my yard, but I don't mind that. It would take out one of my bushes that's bloomed every year, but I don't mind that either because I'd rather have somebody safe 10 years from now over a bush. And I appreciate the people that express that. And I know I'm in the minority, but I bet you when those houses were built back in 1960, if you took a poll about having seatbelts in cars, you would get a big no. Things change. And one thing that's changed is since COVID, and I walk out my subdivision every day for the last 30 years. And go through Forest Park with their sidewalks and come back in. But since COVID, we have 7 days a week, a FedEx truck, a UPS truck, Amazon trucks, Amazon and private delivery vehicles, grocery deliveries, and Grubhub and whatever. And I bet you at least 2 or 3 times every week on Maston, I have to step off the street completely into a yard to let a car go by who doesn't know where they're at or going too fast. And I do have a question. Have they had a count of the cars coming in recently? I know they probably did 10, 15 years. I think you'd be surprised how many more vehicles are coming in the neighborhood. and it's a safety issue. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fleming. Okay, is there anyone else who would like to speak to this subject? Okay, ma'am, why don't you come forward, please? Name and address for the record, please.
I'm Mary Coleman. I am the durable power of attorney for my mother. She lives at 6618 Maston and Merriam. And I want to say I'm for the sidewalks. I see a lot of young families in the neighborhood that weren't there before with baby carriages going through the street, and it's scary. I mean, it really is. I see people on the street walking their dogs, and I think that the past time when this was brought up to the neighborhood, I know there were several neighbors that were really worried that they'd have to shovel the sidewalk. And that was their major complaint, is that I think I'm past the age where I can go out there and shovel that much. And I don't know whether or not they really realize that that's not something that they'd have to do. I think there was a big deal in Prairie Village about that point in time where people were having to shovel. But I really think it would increase the how much your property value is worth because you do have sidewalks. I think people want to get out and walk and feel safe on the street. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Coleman. Okay, I know there was another hand that raised up back there, please. Sir, yeah, if you could come forward too.
Hi, I'm Brian Reed. I live at 6512 Maston Drive, Merriam, Kansas. You're my councilman? Excellent, thank you. We were here in 2019 discussing this same thing, and I'm going to tell you the same long story I told you last time. Moved into West Vernon Place when I was 4 years old in 1963. We didn't have sidewalks back then. We didn't need them. And I'd like to get some information from you on where the controversy is, where the public outcry is. Have there been pedestrian vehicle accidents in our neighborhood that's inspiring all this?
We really don't have a whole lot of questions, and we don't, I mean, it's kind of a, give us your comments, but.
Well,
we
right,
don't
but I
necessarily
need
have
information
answers.
as well so I can make an informed decision.
Okay. Well, at this point, give us all your comments. You got 2 minutes left, and then if I can find any answers, we will get back to you on the answers to your questions, but.
All right,
I
we
know
don't
the
want
answers.
sidewalks. 61% who responded don't want sidewalks. If you had some information that suggested there was a problem, let's have it. Until then, no sidewalks, please. You guys were elected to represent us. Please do that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, please come forward, ma'am, for name and address for the record, Ms. Fowler.
Hello, everybody. My name is Thelma Fowler. I'm at 9921 West 65th Drive in Merriam, West Vernon Place. I've lived in Merriam for over 65 years. I've grown up here, went to school here, raised my family here. I've been a resident in West Vernon Place for 25 years. Love it. For those of you who are not familiar with West Vernon Place, it really is a hidden gem within Merriam. It's kind of located off the beaten path. There's only 81 homes in the area, and one entrance in, one entrance out, and it has these wide boulevard streets that just make it kind of appealing. It's got its own little vibe over there. So I wanted to make sure everyone knew about West Vernon Place. I also want to just thank everybody here that's been involved with helping support the street and stormwater improvement project. Our neighborhood's abuzz with activity. We're super excited for the design phase, and we're super excited for the construction to start next year. With that being said, though, I would like to ask everybody on council to support the West Vernon Place residents by voting no on the sidewalks. I want to talk about 3 important aspects of that. First and foremost is safety and data. So you guys know West Vernon Place was built in 1960s. It didn't have sidewalks then, and for over 6 decades, the pedestrians have walked the street safely. There's not been any pedestrian accidents that sidewalks would help fix. It's a very safe and low-risk residential area. I went to Crestview Elementary School, and I got the badge of honor for being the safety patrol. So I agree, sidewalks are safe when there's a lot of traffic and a lot of pedestrians walking around. That's not the case over in West Vernon Place. Secondly, the residential vote, as you guys heard, we've talked about this before. We've had a huge response rate, 76% of the residents, which is a very strong response rate for Merriam. I'm really proud of that. They've all stated, hey, we don't need that. We don't need sidewalks in our area. So nothing has changed from the residents' point of view. What has changed, though, is where the city has got some updated policies, the mobile Merriam, the community for all ages, and the new street policies. And those are awesome because that is promoting connectivity at a citywide level, right? It has nothing to do with requiring sidewalks in every neighborhood. So I just want to make sure that everyone feels comfortable that you can support that piece of your requirements here within the city and still vote no for no sidewalks in our area. So I just want to make sure you guys understood that. Some of the things that
50 seconds, Ms. Fowler, please.
some of the
Wrap it up.
things that residents have said indicated why they don't want sidewalks. You guys already know about that. But so I just want to make sure that you understand to vote no is not against safety. It's not against progress. What it is a vote is, it's to align with 62% of the residents. It follows the data and honors past council, but most importantly, it focuses resources and dollars on what needs to be done in West Vernon Place, which is stormwater issues and in street improvements. Thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Fallon. Is there anyone else out there that'd like to speak on this topic? Okay. Yes, sir, come on forward. Name and address for the record, sir.
Takes a while, I'm not young.
Yeah, you're
I'm Bert Reed, I live at 6607 Maston, right at 66 Terrace. We're the fourth house in the neighborhood. The people moved in on 66 Terrace. They raised their kids, they died, they're gone. Half the people that I met in my life are gone. All these people lived up and down the street. I visited with them. People down in the lower part of the development, I visited with them. Nobody has ever said anything about wanting sidewalks. I understand someone who drove in the neighborhood and saw two kids walking opposed to traffic, opposed to the way they should. How many fatalities have been reported in our area? Do you know?
We don't have those records, but please give us your comments, though. I'd encourage.
And then this divide and conquer thing, you don't invite the people here that haven't got a horse in the race. So here's just a few of us to come in and complain about this thing, which is ridiculous. I just don't know how you can pull this off.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you for your comments. Anyone? Come forward, ma'am, please. Name and address for the record.
Alice Valverde, 6643 Maston Drive, or Street. I'm on the corner when you first enter, and so I border 67th, which is pretty busy. And they have those big, beautiful sidewalks, and one of the neighbor behind us, behind me, has, she was told a long time ago that they would match her concrete and they would do this and that with her if she would give up a little bit of her property. And so she was all for it. But what had happened was she started getting tickets for parking over the sidewalk because she could park 4 people and they needed the 4 spots. And so she lost 2 spots. So she started parking now on Maston. And so she had 2 cars on Maston. And people were screaming. They were screaming at me because they thought it was us. And, it was just me and my son. So I started after Ruben had come by, and on that freezing cold day, he said that it was about 9 feet, with 4 feet of grass and 5 feet of sidewalk. And so I kind of measured, did a little rough estimate. That's over 1,000 square feet. And even though I'm on the corner, I don't have a whole lot of yard. And so that's over a third of my yard, out of my front yard. And then they have the sidewalk that's on the side of our house. The sidewalk on the side of our house, we get, I've put little bushes and trees, to kind of a little noise and privacy because it's me. And they have cigarette butts. I pick up cigarette butts, condom wrappers, firecrackers that people just walk by, they drop or whatever. The dogs urinate on the bushes, kills them. And yeah, it's money, but it's just my money, and it's just me, and it's just my property. And so I'm afraid that people would come there, walk along, throw it. Now it's in my front yard, and I'm the one that's having to pick it up. I planted a bunch of trees in there up in the corner. Those would all be gone, and they just rooted finally. And I think I'd lose at least one adult tree, and then possibly the really big tree that's in the front of my house. Also, the driveway, it's less than 40 feet long. So if they're taking 9 feet, again, that's 2 spots. So I would be parking on the street. I would be parking on the street, or a guest would be parking on the street, or whatever. It's just a single driveway. I knew about it when I moved in, but I never thought that I would have to give up, a spot. And then I would have to give up, I would get tickets because I'm parking too close to the sidewalk, and that's not what I bought the house for.
Thank you. We appreciate your input. Anyone else out there this evening? Okay.
Billy Crone, 663 West Street. In 2019, West Vernon Place residents said no resoundingly. Nancy Hupp, at the council person at the time, literally rolled her eyes. I recall watching that, and her friend Chris Hands both knew better than the residents of West Vernon Place, despite neither of them living there. And now we know that Jacob knows better too, so that's something to note and to remember for next election year. Nothing prevents residents who want sidewalks from building them. They can buy them and install them in their yard, left, right, and center if they want. So this isn't about sidewalks or not. This is about shall residents be forced to have sidewalks on their yard. They lose part of their driveway, and even the shoveling is an issue, honestly, because it's liability. Even if it's not legally required to be shoveled, if somebody slips and falls on your property, it's going to raise your insurance rates. So there's liability there. We've had 71% of people opposed to it here, 61% in the survey that the city tried, I'm sure, as hard as it could to go the way that the policymakers want, and you failed. So please don't force sidewalks in West Vernon. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else out there this evening? Okay. All right. I think we've gotten to probably all the comments that we need at this point itself. We do have a motion up this evening, if someone would like. Oh, I'm sorry, did you have a question?
I had a comment
Oh,
and a
Mr. Silvers,
question.
go ahead. I'm sorry.
So I just wanted to reiterate something a compliment I gave to the director, that she and her team looked into adding sidewalks because of a citywide policy that council put in place saying that we want the city to be walkable and bikeable. It doesn't mean that we necessarily have to adopt recommendations, but you were doing your due diligence, and that's why that came up again. If this does not pass, I would like to look into maybe, or if we choose to not put sidewalks in, I would like to maybe look into putting up a few signs at the entrance that warn people that there are pedestrians in the roadway. Kind of like how we, in my neighborhood, put the sign up for the deaf child area, just to give people an extra warning that maybe that they need to keep their eyes out for people being in the roadway. That's all I had.
Did you have some, Mr. LaHaye? Did I miss? No, okay.
Sorry,
Shawna?
I'm sorry. I should have said this earlier. I apologize. I did have some residents ask about streetlights and if we plan to add any more because it can be sort of dark. Or if I don't know if we've upgraded those to the LEDs. I think we have, but if we had any plans to add more streetlights, if we are not adding sidewalks just to help some visibility in the evenings. I don't know that that's something that we need to do, but it's just a comment that I wanted to bring up. So just to have it on the record. Thank you.
Any other comments? No, sorry. No, you're good, you're good. Okay, well, at that point then, I would entertain a motion, if we know which way you think we've got two motions before us.
I have a motion. Can I read it?
Yes, please. Please
Okay.
do.
Or do you want to? Okay. I'm going to choose the second motion. I move that the council approve removal of the West 65th Drive and West 66th Terrace Islands and no sidewalks with construction of the West Vernon Place Improvements Project.
Okay, we have a motion, and we have a second. Go ahead, Mr. Kozmeyer.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to second.
Okay, we have a motion, a second. Madam Clerk?
Councilmember Caldwell.
Aye.
Councilmember Leahy.
Aye.
Councilmember Ryder.
Aye.
Councilmember Silvers.
Aye.
Councilmember Shavetta.
Aye.
Councilmember Kozmeyer.
Aye.
Councilmember Hands.
I'm going to reluctantly, with my safety concerns, vote aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. All right. Thank you for everybody that was in attendance on that subject. You're welcome to stay if you want or leave. It's up to you. Consider next time up, we've got Director Slocum for us. I'll let you tell us what we're going to talk about. Director Slocum.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Council. This evening, I'm before you to make a suggestion and ask for your approval of a change in the organizational structure of the Parks and Recreation Department. As you know, we are going to have a vacancy at the end of this week. When there is a vacancy, we like to take that time to evaluate our operational efficiencies of the department and make sure that we align with the organization overall. The complexity of managing the daily operation of the Merriam Community Center has drastically changed over the last 5 years, and we feel that it's time to have a position that's focused specifically on the facility oversight and the day-to-day management of that facility. So what I am proposing is that the assistant director position be changed to a superintendent of recreation facilities. This would be a change in the grade and classification of the position, reducing it from what is now a grade Q to a grade O. So this classification would not increase our liability to our operational budget. In fact, it could be a potential reduction in the overall salary exposure within our budget. Along with this adjustment, we've looked at our org chart. There is one mistake in the action form. I had the title wrong. We retitled this from a supervisor to a manager position, so I must say that I forgot, and I didn't verify that, so that is a mistake on my part. It is the recreation manager events position would, instead of reporting to the superintendent position, would then report directly to me. The superintendent would continue to report to me. The reason for that change is, as you might imagine, most of the events under that position do not impact the operation of the facility. They're more city-based and citywide based. So it would give us a clearer alignment of responsibilities within our supervisory pact from that standpoint. So ideally, we feel that this would support the long-term operational sustainability while also ensuring high quality of delivery to our community, which aligns with Council Goal 2.0 to provide exceptional delivery service. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions, Director Slocum?
I just have,
Okay, go ahead, Ms. Hands.
could you clarify what you've changed the name on again, please?
So in the second to last paragraph, I
Okay.
have it as the recreation supervisor events. That was a mistake on my part. That title was changed in a salary study. It's now a recreation manager. It's Renee's position. So I just titled it wrong and felt that it was important to note my mistake in the action report.
Okay.
Her title is not changing. I just made a mistake.
So, and then just a sentence to clarify how this change is different, because it says will act as assistant in your absence.
They will only act and they will take, if I'm gone, they
Right.
will be the decision maker. They will be the person that will take that responsibility. But there's some other changes in the job description specifically related to the duties that this person would oversee about the day-to-day facility operations that currently aren't necessarily aligned under one position.
Okay, one of my concerns is that this is in line with industry standards. We're not writing a job description based on who we think we want to be in this position.
There is no thought of who would fill this position. This is aligned. When we did the community center study, they said we needed a community center manager. At that point, where would we put a community center manager with the structure we had?
Right.
So we kind of fit it to work,
Right.
knowing that at some point, if the opportunity became available, we would want to look at a realignment.
Okay.
So, and the reason we also looked at a superintendent versus an assistant along with that is when you put that job out, we really want this to be more of a working supervisor, someone that has day-to-day tasks and duties, not just looking at the operations of the facility hands-on. Whereas if you put it out as an assistant position, that gives it a different role and a different expectation of what your duties are going to be. And we have no other assistants in any of our other departments except for administration. This you're not parks, I'm parks.
Public Works uses
Public
the
Works, the
superintendent,
P
yeah.
departments, we all have, she has superintendent, so it also aligns with our city structure as well.
Sure, thanks.
Okay, any other questions, Director Slocum? All right. Well, I think we have a motion to make that recommendation, if somebody wants to move that forward. Ms. Hands?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I move that the council approve reclassification of Assistant Director of Parks and Recreation to Superintendent Recreation Facilities.
Okay, we have a second, Mr. Silvers.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to second that.
Okay, Madam Clerk, we have a motion, a second.
Councilmember Leahy.
Aye.
Councilmember Ryder.
Aye.
Councilmember Silvers.
Aye.
Councilmember Shavetta.
Aye.
Councilmember Kosmeyer.
Aye.
Councilmember Hands.
Aye.
Councilmember Caldwell.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Director Slocum, looks like you get the next item too.
I do. This is an annual ordinance that is required in order to have alcohol, have an opening of the streets and be able to serve alcohol at MDL. You've already passed as part of your consent agenda, but this then allows us to allow sale, consumption, and possession on streets and sidewalks within the boundaries permitted. Included in the packet, and Julie, I don't know if you want to bring up Exhibit A for me, please. This is the same map we've used every year, and that's the boundary we are proposing again for Merriam Drive Live, that with the sale and consumption of alcohol, people are able to move within the space downtown within those boundaries. That map would be posted at the sale where alcohol is made so that they know what the boundaries are. So we have to approve an ordinance in order to allow that to occur.
Okay. Do we have any questions, Director Slocum? I see no questions for Director Slocum this time. So I would entertain a motion for that. Ms. Shredder.
We have to waive the first reading for a motion and then we have to approve it. Okay,
Yes.
so I'll move that the council waive the customary first reading and approve an ordinance authorizing the sale, consumption, and possession of alcoholic liquor during the Merriam Drive Live event according to KSA 41-719 and amendments thereto.
Okay, we have a motion. We have a second. Ms. Ryder.
Mr. Mayor, I second.
Madam Clerk, we have a motion, a second.
Councilmember Ryder.
Aye.
Councilmember Silvers.
Aye.
Councilmember Shavetta.
Aye.
Councilmember Kosmeyer.
Aye.
Councilmember Hands.
Aye.
Councilmember Caldwell.
Aye.
Councilmember Leahy.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Okay, well, that was,
Then we'll need a motion to approve.
I was gonna say, I don't think we got that edited in here, but.
Wasn't that in the verbiage to waive the customary first reading and approve?
And approve. Okay, I didn't hear you say that. Very good. Okay,
Okay, just
we're
wanted to
done.
make sure. Thank
We're
you.
done. Okay. Yeah, I was reading back through it myself because I was like, we don't have a second one, so.
No,
but it was
you don't.
anyway. Well, then we're good. Next item, obviously, we have Mr. Engel coming forward to the podium here on resolution.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'm going to present the next two items as one. Well, they require two different motions, and one is a resolution, one is an ordinance, which also includes a suggested waiving of the first reading. They're really the same item, just a continuum of a similar process. So in 2013, so the items consider approval of a resolution and also an ordinance as the second item, declaring the necessity and authorizing a survey and descriptions of land required to complete underground utilities project at 6220 Antioch Road. As you are aware, in 2023, City Council approved $5 million for the utility undergrounding project in our 5-year CIP. That project commenced in fall of 2024 and is in the final stages of construction. They have the utilities off of the poles, and I don't know if they have the last handful of poles down, but we're close. We're really close. And so the stated purpose of that really was to beautify the corridor, the Shawnee Mission Parkway and Antioch corridor, and improve the reliability of those utility services. And we've always wanted to coordinate those with any development that was occurring first on the north side at Merriam Grand Station, out on the south side with Merriam Grand Station Marketplace. As with most projects, this project required easements from adjacent property owners. As normal practice, when we need an easement, we provide just compensation based on fair market value of the impacted property. This was and is it's a city-sponsored project, but Evergy is our contractor, and their subs are the ones doing all of this. So Evergy has negotiated all of these up to this point, all of these easements. So Evergy, as the contractor on the project's been able to secure all the necessary easements up to this point, except for one, and that is at 6220 Antioch Road. At that location, which is at the northwest corner of 62nd Terrace and Antioch, just north of where the Trader Joe's is being constructed in a strip mall that faces Antioch. There is an existing pole, there's a picture of it that was in your packet, that needs to be replaced. That will be where the utilities pop back up off of Antioch. It's a very busy pole. If you looked at the picture, you can see there's a lot of connections on it. But what this project is looking to do is to take that existing pole and just simply put a new one in there. This isn't a new pole. What's a new pole, but it's not. It's a replacement pole. Sorry. Evergy's real estate folks have, based on information we got from them, negotiated in good faith with the property owner. That just hasn't quite worked out. They tried to not only negotiate in cost, but also in some relocating that pole, just moving it, I believe, to the south, so that if the property owners said that they have some interest in perhaps expanding that parking. Looks pretty tight there for me, a lot of utilities in there, but I think in the spirit of working with the owner of the property, that was all moved around in terms of the planning. They just couldn't come up with an agreeable fair market price. So as a city-sponsored event, and to prevent essentially this project from stalling unnecessarily, Evergy handed this task back to the city. We were happy to get this at the 23rd hour. But as we do when we need to acquire easements, we hired Erskine and Orick and Erskine as our right-of-way counsel. Mr. Tim Orick has had conversations with the property owner, and I believe we have offered 3 times the initial offer. I don't know, based on Mr. Orick's opinion, based on his conversations with the property owner, he wasn't quite sure that this was going to happen in any sort of a timely fashion. So at his advice, he recommended that we begin this process, the condemnation process. The condemnation is a multi-step process for acquiring property by eminent domain. Again, eminent domain doesn't happen until the very end. Again, this is a process up until then. Process begins with the adoption of a resolution declaring the necessity for condemnation. and directing a survey of the property where easement agreement has not been reached. That is your first item this evening. The resolution is attached for review. The next step, if we move past the resolution stage, would be to adopt an ordinance that directs the city attorney to initiate the eminent domain proceedings as allowed by law. Ordinance is the next item on the agenda, again with a recommended waiving of the first reading to keep this moving forward. I think it's important to point out, as we always do in these issues, we will continue to negotiate in good faith. We will continue to try to find some sort of middle ground, but we just have to keep in mind that there are people that agree to easements, agree to a fair market value, and if we do not hold the line on some sort of reasonableness standard, these things could get very expensive and completely we could run into a situation where you agreed to fair market value and we give you 20 times fair market value, and then we've created an issue with the people that have agreed to fair market value beforehand. So again, it's important that we share with you that we will continue to negotiate good faith. We hope to get this thing wrapped up, and this is a process. But if we can't find that, we would have the city attorney file a petition in district court for condemnation. Even at that point, that's still a process. It is at the very end of the process that eminent domain would occur. Usually that, we don't even get to that point. I think we had one property that we had to get to that. We had a little bit more. Okay. So, unfortunate, but that is, we've got to move forward, and we can't necessarily be held up by these negotiations at the last minute. Happy to answer any questions about the resolution. The ordinance, again, which is the next item, would be consider approval of an ordinance condemning lands or interest of lands at 6220 Antioch Road for the utility undergrounding project. Same exact story, same exact narrative. It's just the next step in the continuum. Happy to answer any questions about either one of those.
Okay, go ahead.
I just have a quick clarification. So this is just to replace the pole. It's not like we're taking their land forever,
Yeah,
right?
that-
It's just to replace the pole, get in and get out as quick as we can, or as quick as Evergy's contractors can.
Yeah, that is the existing pole that is there. We need to bring the utilities from the south to the north underneath the road that need to pop up. It needs a little bit newer, bigger pole because it's going to have some additional hardware on it. But yes, all we are going to do is put another pole in that's going to look exactly like that pole.
Thank you.
Go ahead. Ms. Ryder, you have a question?
So how much more easement do we need for this?
So there'll be, well, all of that green spot along Antioch will be easement because there's utilities above it. There's not currently one there. Somehow all those got in there without easement. I believe that is, isn't that where we're at? Yeah. So, but as you can see in that picture, there is gas line, there is fire hydrant, there is a telephone pole, there is a light pole. There's a lot of utilities that are already in that grass strip. So,
Ms. Hans?
And is it customary that we don't talk about dollars in here with this process? I'm not remembering.
I don't know. Do we normally talk about dollars in here?
Okay,
No, we don't.
thank you.
Because, I mean, it's
Okay.
land acquisition.
I know.
I tried to give scope and scale of right now, the offer that we have before the individual is 3 times what the initial offer is. They had wanted 20 times what the initial offer was. I don't know if there's been a counter. There's been a counter that I'm aware of.
Because likely if it actually does go clear to court, it will be fair market value. It will not be.
Yes, I've been very clear with Mr. Orrick that I asked him, I said, hey, wherever we're at right now, whatever that number is, I said, is this individual
not
going to
be
get more
bigger.
than that? Because if they're going to get more than that, let's give them more than that now.
Right.
Because we want to avoid this if we can. And
Exactly.
he said, we're pretty close to the neighborhood.
Okay.
So we will continue to try to find a number because, again, there's people's time and all these other things that go along with this process, the stigma of what is going on here. But at the end of the day, we have a utility project that needs to continue. And so we need to get a resolution.
Ms. Ryder, go ahead.
You said that they are interested in increasing their parking.
That is what they told Evergy. I'm not sure if you look there or if you've seen that site where that would happen, but they asked, as part of the negotiation with Evergy, if they would move the pole a couple feet one direction or the other so that they could expand the parking. It's my understanding is that they agreed. So again, I don't know exactly where that pole is gonna go, because it's Evergy placing that pole, but Evergy needs pretty much the green space to move in there, but they've worked with the property owner to accommodate the ability for them to expand, should that actually ever be something that occurs.
Mr. Leahy?
Real quick, just to clarify, because you alluded to it, we don't typically have power lines above property that's not an easement, correct?
Generally not. Yeah, usually there's a
Typically when those come
utility
in.
easement there. I mean, but as things evolve and as things grow, sometimes we find strange occurrences in our community, just because of the age of it.
Any questions, Mr. Engel? Okay, Ms. Okay, Ms.
All right.
Ryder.
So to follow up with their parking potential, would we honor that, like moving the pole and stuff, if we did have to take the land from them?
Would we do what?
Would we honor their agreement with Evergy as far as shifting that pole and stuff?
Evergy doesn't, well, Evergy, what we are doing is we are getting the easement. Evergy's still gonna do the work. They're gonna put the pole wherever they agreed to put the pole. All we're doing is acquiring the easement. Then we're turning it right back over to Evergy to say, please finish our project. Yeah, they basically hit an impasse and said, hey, city, this is your project. You need to deal with this issue. That, they're gonna put the pole wherever they agreed to with the property owner, would be my guess.
Any other questions? Okay, well, it looks like we have several motions here. I'd entertain the first motion of a resolution. Go ahead, Ms.
You're fine.
Broke up there.
Mr. Mayor, I move that the council approve a resolution declaring the necessity and authorizing a survey and descriptions of land required to complete the underground utility project at 6220 Antioch Road.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Ms. Hands?
I second that.
Madam Clerk, we have a motion, a second.
Councilmember Silvers.
Aye.
Councilmember Shavetta.
Aye.
Councilmember Kosmeyer.
Aye.
Councilmember Hands.
Aye.
Councilmember Caldwell.
Aye.
Councilmember Leahy.
Aye.
Councilmember Ryder.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Okay, moving on, it looks like we have a second motion, which would be waive the customary first reading. That would be before us this evening as well, and obviously, I think it's kind of, we only have one there, so I don't, maybe you want to.
Waive and approve.
Waive and approve.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead, Ms. Hands.
Mr. Mayor, I move that the council waive the customary first reading and approve an ordinance condemning lands or interests in lands at 6220 Antioch Road for the underground utilities project, and to direct the city attorney to cause the initiation of eminent domain proceedings as provided by law to acquire the tracts and parcels of land described in this ordinance.
Do we have a motion? Do we have a second? Okay, go ahead, Ms. Ryder.
Mr. Mayor, I second.
Okay, we have a motion second, Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Shavetta.
Aye.
Councilmember Kosmeyer.
Aye.
Councilmember Hands.
Aye.
Councilmember Caldwell.
Aye.
Councilmember Leahy.
Aye.
Councilmember Ryder.
Aye.
Councilmember Silvers.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Looks like next item up is a CIP update. All right,
Yes.
Director Kempton.
The February CIP update is in your packet, and I won't talk a lot since I've already talked a lot tonight. But quickly, heard from Evergy today that they're going to be out tomorrow on Shawnee Mission Parkway taking down the last 4 poles. So, and then we just have a little bit of site restoration, a couple sidewalks that we're working with, trying to find which utilities did it, because one came in and then the other one came in, and so we're working on that. And then the developer will be restoring all the sod on their property. So then we'll be done with that project. 75th Street, I got an update today that they've moved the closure of the 75th Street Bridge to March 30th through June 5th. So that's actually 67 days. We'll be working with Communications in Overland Park to inform the residents. And happy to answer any questions.
Any questions, Dr. Kumke? Okay, that was quick. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We had informational items up on, from Park and Rec and Advisory Board and Public Art Committee. They were also in the packet. So we have no questions for Dr. Slocum for those. All right. Mr. Engel, do you have anything from staff?
I do, just a couple updates. Wanted to let everybody know that Police Officer Lydia Elson graduated from the Joco Regional Police Academy on Friday night. In addition to graduating, she was awarded the Instructor's Choice Award. This award's given to the recruit who, during the course of the academy, proves to be the most helpful to the training staff and their fellow recruits. So we look forward to getting her on stage. Well, she might have started today. Was she? She started today. Yeah, okay. Well, that's fantastic. Our City Hall construction project, as you can see out there, is progressing. We are about 2 days behind due to some supply chain issues, but we're still chugging along. Community development and the admin countertops will be installed this coming Saturday. Admin will move into the new space on Monday the 16th, and court construction will begin that same day. If you've been down at the other end at the community development window, their glass and their overhead door are projected to be installed by the 24th. So we're excited to have that still moving forward. Caitlin's been doing a good job working with Caleb in Public Works to keep that on task as best we can. And then some additional good news from awards. 2006 budget received the Government Finance Officers Association Distinguished Budget Presentation Award with a special recognition in the Strategic Goals and Strategies category. There were actually several review comments that mentioned it was one of the most well-done and readable documents they have seen. So congratulations to our communication staff and our finance staff on that wide recognition there for transparent government focused on progress. I will be out at the end of this week, beginning of next week, but we'll be within. I won't be available. I'll be in Mexico. Yeah, I won't be available. But happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions, Mr. Engel? Okay, I see no questions. And
Thank
we have no executive session this evening?
No, sir.
Okay. Well, I think I would entertain a motion for adjournment then at that point. Okay, Ms. Feta,
Mr. Mayor, I move that we adjourn.
we have a second?
I second it.
Ms. Hans, Madam Clerk?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned.
You're not well?